Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today we are going to be taking a look at our first watch from the brand Spinnaker. Now this watch was sent by the brand themselves, and I'd like to thank them for sending this piece for the purposes of this review. And this particular model is the Tesei Titanium dive watch that they recently released. So this watch was made in kind of commemoration of Taseo Tesei, who invented the human torpedo. And they made it as a nice dive watch, coming in at around a price of $520, so it's fairly affordable in itself, and it comes with a nice titanium case. So going over the case right away, it's got a 43 millimeters in diameter, 15 millimeters thick, and it's made out of grade 5 titanium. And now this is a material that you don't necessarily see on too many watches, let alone ones that are around the $500 price point. But titanium itself is going to be much lighter. It's about half as light as stainless steel, and it's going to be much stronger and tougher than stainless steel as well, and it will not scratch as easily. So I've actually been wearing this watch for a week now, and there are no noticeable scratches on the titanium at all. Now I tend to take good care of my watches, so there wouldn't really be that many, but I feel like there should have been at least one or so that would have made their way through, and I cannot make out any on this watch's case. So now let's move on to the bezel. So the bezel of this piece is titanium as well, but it has a ceramic fully loomed insert. Now this is another feature that you don't see on a lot of watches at this price point, because ceramic can be more complicated to manufacture, just because it's you have to heat it up to high temperatures to be able to mold it into the shapes that you want, and it's also harder to loom ceramic. You just don't see that too much. Even Rolex doesn't loom their whole bezels, and ceramic is just going to give you a very hard bezel that will barely ever, if ever, scratch, because it's really the only things that can scratch ceramic are going to be sapphire or diamond, basically around that range. So you're really never ever going to scratch a ceramic bezel, which is a great feature to have on a piece. And being that it's fully loomed, that just makes it that much easier to see underwater. And you also have a protruding loom pip at 12 o'clock to make it a little bit more noticeable, though, where the start of the bezel is. So now moving on to, before I move on from the bezel, I'm going to demonstrate the action. So it's 120 click bezel action. The feel is pretty good. It locks down nice. There's almost zero shake, and it's very, very clicky. It's not. They didn't go for They didn't go for a super smooth bezel. They went more for clicky, and I don't really blame them for that. But the action overall is very good. It locks down quite nicely, and there's really no problem there. So now moving to the dial. The dial is a matte blue dial on this particular model. You can also get it where it has a black dial with a blue bezel. This has black bezel with a blue dial. And I like the orange accent where it says the depth rating of 200 meters. So 200 meter depth rating, that means that this is an actual dive watch. You could very easily dive with this piece. It's not quite up to the luxury dive watches depth ratings of 300 meters, but being $520, you really would never expect it to be anyways. So you also have a date window, at 3 o'clock there, and I like how it has a dark background. It just matches the dial a lot more. You don't see that in too many watches. And I also like how there's no magnifier. It just lets it kind of sit in the dial a little bit easier and make it more symmetrical. And I think, though, it's still very easy to read because they do window it in a nice metal frame. So the loom on this dial is green on the dial. Now, I personally would prefer if they did a white. I just like the look of white loom over green loom, but that's really just a personal preference thing. Doesn't really hit on the watch whatsoever. I've tested the loom a bit. It seems to be all right. It's super luminova. I would say it's not quite up to the level of like a Seiko SKX 007, but it will get the job done. And so now let's move on to that little word at the bottom middle of the dial there that says automatic. So the movement in this piece is an automatic Miyota 8215. It is a Asian-based movement. This is not it's not really a Swiss-made watch. And the movement overall is going to be very functional, very easy to repair if it ever breaks, but Miyotas tend to be very, very reliable, and you shouldn't really have too many problems. Automatic winding, so you're not really going to have to worry about hand winding as long as you're wearing this watch pretty regularly. And the one thing, though, I wish they did on this movement is they made it a little bit more well finished. There's really zero finishing on this movement. I wish they would have done a little something, because this is a price of $520. If you get a Seiko SKX, yes, that doesn't have finishing, but that also is about half the price of this piece. So I wish they would have thrown in some finishing on the movement besides just the custom-made rotor. But that's just a kind of a personal opinion that I have about this piece being $520. One other thing I'd like to mention on this piece is that it has a it doesn't appear to have any anti-reflective coating on the sapphire. So it is sapphire crystal, so it will really never scratch, but there doesn't appear to be any anti-reflective coating, so it tends to be very reflective, and you probably have noticed that a little bit in the video, just seeing the windows in the background. It does kind of reflect a bit. Now, you can still very easily see the dial. I don't think that really detracts from the visibility of the dial too much, but it can be a little bit of annoyance. I just thought I'd mention that in there. So this watch overall, coming in at or actually, I forgot a wrist shot. I'll move on to the wrist shot. So for the wrist shot, first off, the strap it comes on is a nylon leather-backed strap, so it has leather on the back, and they say it's a water-resistant leather, so I'm sure it was treated in some way. So you can dive with this strap without any issues. And the strap is very high quality. It's definitely a lot higher than quality than the Seiko straps you'd get at around this price point or on the SKX. I do like the nylon quite a bit. I love the orange accents, and being in dark navy blue, it matches the dial absolutely perfectly. I think this watch would also look absolutely fantastic on a leather band as well, but I do love the nylon that it comes on. Very high quality strap. Definitely, I have no I really don't have any reservations about this strap holding up for a decent period of time. And you do also have a titanium pin buckle as well, which is something that you'll see some manufacturers miss on and just kind of make it look that the titanium. So overall, this piece coming in at a price of $520, I think that it offers a lot of good features over the some of the other watches at the price point. You get a ceramic bezel, you get a grade 5 titanium case. There's really no problems there. And I think that it maybe would have been a little bit better, just a little bit cheaper, but I think that overall this watch offers a lot of different features that watches around this price point can't compete with. And so I think that this would be a decent buy if you're looking at a watch around this price point. I think $520 is not too bad for this piece. I think that's fairly a good price. So we'll be leaving a link in the description to Spinnaker's website where you can learn more about this piece and their other watches. Thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.